Speaking of heading in the right direction, let's talk about expectations. Certainly a little bit of a firestorm earlier in the offseason with you and I discussed it even in a main topic about how comments were made about what the expectations should be for Auburn this year. It was misinterpreted by a lot of people just looking for something to stir up in the middle of offseason. Of course, that never happens. Um, so he addressed that in press conferences and said that he expects Auburn to be in the conversation for the college football playoff. So I would love to get our takes on that comment, but I'd also like to emphasize that Auburn fans listen and not react to what was and wasn't said. He said, in the conversation for the college football playoff. When you hear that, Austin, what does that specifically mean to you?
Oh, well, I mean, first and foremost, I don't want to say it's not important, but it didn't mean a lot to me because the conversation about the playoff never stops. It feels like
Sure.
like from the week 0 college game day set, you're going to hear Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard, and the rest of the lot give their playoff prediction on week 0. And it's going to happen all throughout, all up until any playoff rankings, which come in November, and all the way up until a playoff decision of a bracket, which comes in mid-December. And so I think that, when I took that and I thought, well, that is an upward step, right? Because Auburn has not been in the playoff conversation at any point from August to December in the last few years. And so I think, be in the conversation, be in the discussion. I think he's right by saying they have an opportunity to be in that discussion of, say, especially with the expanded amount of teams, of if Auburn gets on a roll here in mid-October, is someone looking at them and thinking, hey, that Auburn team, they could sneak in, or this Auburn team is on a roll here. I wouldn't be surprised if they make their way to an at-large bid or something like that. So to me, I don't think he's saying that by saying we expect to be, getting a bye and playing in a semifinal game and this season. I think he said in the discussion, and it leaves open a lot of interpretation of how you want to look at it. One of my criticisms of back at the golf tournament when he said was that it was a little too pointed, and that it sounded like it was a little bit too specific on what we expect to make a bowl game. I think this kind of leaves it a little more broad open there, and it leaves it the opportunity for him to, one, kind of feed into and align himself with the expectations a lot of fans have of a favorable schedule, a very talented roster, and a very talented team this year that could be pushing for a playoff spot, but also leave it open to be, we're not saying we expect to be in Atlanta for the SEC championship. Certainly that's a goal, but we're not expecting it. He didn't have to go into specific detail about that. And so I thought it was a good answer. That's what Auburn people want to hear. We want to hear that this team has the highest of goals and the highest of aspirations. And, somebody once said that Auburn has given it, oh man, I'm butchering it here. Auburn has earned the right to dream the highest dreams, right?
That's a good way. Yeah,
and that is what happens here. You can talk about, I don't care who you are, if you're wearing any other color, but these right here, you could talk about how delusional Auburn is and all those things. End all be all, Auburn people and Auburn University expects to be in those conversations. And for Hugh to come out and say that just tells me he knows the position he's in, and he has the same confidence about this team.
Certainly. And I think when you go out there in public and make those statements, obviously it corrects any logical fallacies that started to occur. Once again, I think everybody's going to interpret things differently, but I think when you go to extremes of, oh, well, he barely expects to make a bowl game, that's just ridiculous. And you're just being ridiculous, and you don't deserve to be part of any conversation in the college football realm. I'm just going to be honest with you. Either that or you're doing it on purpose just to get the clicks and the hyperbole and all that kind of stuff. But he's also not saying, hey, we're going to be in the playoffs. He's saying we should be there. We have earned the right to dream the highest dreams. And so I think the coverage of how you approach the expectations from the fan perspective, the team perspective, I think he did say all the right things. And we'll see how the expectations play out here in just a few short weeks. It's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure because I knew I'd heard that recently. Coach Freeze said that of President Chris Roberts in his opening monologue of that Auburn has earned the right. I was like, I feel like I just heard this, but yeah. Okay.
There you go.
I was paying attention this week.